All right, boys, what's happening?
Good evening.
Hello.
We've got matching t-shirts on, Thomas.
Where's a jumper?
Both style
Good.
icons.
And
did you see our actual talking about style icons? Did you notice that our absolutely glorious manager, the greatest manager ever managed for Heart of Midlothian Football Club, was wearing 2 hoodies on Saturday?
I did see this, and he's stealing it from. And actually, I'm not even going to tell you who he's stealing it from, because you'll just come after me. Because it's an American football reference, but he's stealing it from someone that's quite well known in the NFL world, and it's just not working for him.
I miss when our manager wore shirt and tie and trackies. I'll never beat that, to be fair.
Well, John McGlynn is you'll never ever get John McGlynn again. He was an absolute trailblazer, like Versace or Gucci or whoever. Like he's up there like big John
style
McGlynn.
Icon.
But style icon. Well, there you go. There's a rabbit hole I didn't think would go down after 34 seconds of this week's podcast. There you go. Ando, how's things been? All right?
Good man. Just another week of not actually going to the football, watching it on Hearts International, because I live in an international country, obviously. And another Hearts win. We roll on, but gutted to have no.
To be fair,
been to a game in a few weeks.
Stats are backing up the idea that you should literally just never go to a Hearts game ever again. I hate to be that guy, but it's starting to stack up.
We do keep making this joke, and I don't have. In fact, I've got it here, right? We'll just do it now, right? Auction me on Twitter. There you go. That's it. Anyone goes to the highest bidder, because there's no point in me coming back. I'm sorry to say this, boys, and we'll probably cover this when we get to the prediction section. But I will be there on Saturday. So, sorry in advance.
Yeah, well, I won't be there on Saturday, which is very annoying.
Oh, shit.
I know, schoolboy error, mate. I was at my granny's funeral, and I was sitting with my cousin, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing for the Edinburgh Derby?" And I was like, "What? Well, obviously, I'll be in Tynecastle for about 9 in the morning or something. Like, I'll be there." And he was like, "Mate, we're in Poland, it's my stag do." I was like, "I fucking hate you." So I hate you. So actual raging with myself. But there we go. The good news is I'll be shooting guns in Poland at the exact time Hearts are playing. So
is there any heavies on the trip?
There are 2 Hibs fans.
Well, there we go.
Things could get very Lee Wallace.
Amazing.
Could get very Lee Wallace.
More worried about you shooting yourself, to be honest.
That's also, mate, also went through my mind. It also went through my mind. I will not lie. But to be fair, you're right. There isn't it. We could win 3-0. I'd still probably be furious and raging about something. So that's true. Tam, what's been happening?
Not much, mate. Just same old for last week. Back to work and all that. So, not much to say. I didn't make the trip up myself. I've got one of those international subscriptions as well. So
these are both international guys. So
we need to get we need to get a VPN sponsor. Actually, that's the goal for this year. We'll get a podcast, NordVPN.
You got me to sign your passport documents so you could leave Armadale. The idea that you go to some international traveling's embarrassing. Right.
Actually, this is probably a good segue because I was just about to ask, how did your birthday weekend go, Tam?
Great bit.
Good. All right, cool. No. This is a good chance to advertise. So in the new WhatsApp group chat that we've got, details available on Twitter. There's a pinned tweet at the top. If you want to join the community chat, I know they call it a community chat. It's a shit name, but never mind. Come and get involved. And Tam, you can tell everyone if you got your birthday hole or no, because that's been the subject of the debate for the last couple of hours, I think. So, there you go.
The debate that I've not been involved in, just to clarify this.
Yeah, well, everyone's talking about you, not to you, Thomas. It's fine.
It's
fine. Talking of making a messy bed sheets, I did ask my wife if I could spray paint. It was just a joke on my bed sheet and hang it behind me, but I feel like we might be too far gone with that. But if you do want to join the community chat, again, there's different channels and that in there. We just thought we would ruin your lives even more than the once a week that you get to listen to us discuss Hearts on a podcast. You can come and hear our up-to-date thoughts on everything that is Heart of Midlothian. If you weren't depressed enough, on Twitter you can join it through there, which is cool. This week, boys, we'll look through the week that's just been. To be fair, pretty positive week for Hearts. Loads to be positive about. I personally predicted no wins in 3, so to have won 70% of the games was pretty decent. So we'll look over the 2 games. Obviously, we progressed into the League Cup semi-final versus Rangers, who, as of an hour ago, just sacked their manager. So we can talk about that.
What?
Mick Beale's gone.
Oh,
Me
I didn't know
Moleface
that.
is out the door.
Oh.
Hopefully they keep it. Stephen Davis and Alex Ray, who I thought worked for like BT Sports, is the coach. So they must have phoned our board and said, because you've had such a good week and obviously your amazing setup in the dugout is working so well, what do you think about us employing an actual midfielder that currently plays for us in the guy off BT Sports? And if we went, brilliant idea. What could possibly go wrong?
I wonder if they've got their badges for Europe, to be honest. So it might be Stephen Davis, technical director. That's it.
See, just to get into that for a second, right? And I know in the new community chat that we've got set up, I think we were chatting about this yesterday. Saying that the writing's on the wall for him, and the only reason this isn't a Rangers podcast, we all know this, but it does reflect us. I would have absolutely loved it if us scudding them could have been the game that got him the bullet. The fact they've done it a month early, it's frustrating, isn't it? I wanted them kept around for a wee while. But
new manager boost. We play them twice in a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to go well.
When you're going to get shagged, you're going to get shagged, right? And things either line up for you or line up against
Thomas.
you.
Always next year.
Always
next year.
Feels like it's stacked against us already on that news. Fuck.
Oh, come on, we're not even 5 minutes in. We've got 2 victories to talk about, and we've already doom and gloomed it, and we're not even thinking we've got an unbelievable managerial setup. It's got us into the semi-final of the Cup, and we've won double the amount of away games that we've won in the year in the last week. So
we've got a super sub, Alan Forrest, who I've always loved.
He's a great player.
Fantastic, fantastic wee guy.
Exactly.
Right.
So we'll talk about the week that's just been. We'll talk about the semi-finals. There's always a ticket conversation as well. We laughed and joked about it there, but the elephant in the room is obviously pre-game at Kilmarnock. There was a bit of a banner, a bit of pop at the club. We can talk about whether you felt it was justified or not. Me personally, how shite would we have been if I hadn't ruined my bed sheets and my bin bags? But that's a different conversation. And then obviously 6 days time, Hibernian travel to Tynecastle in the first Edinburgh Derby of the season. Already feels like a massive game. We'll talk about that, and then I'm going to raise the one. We'll talk about it with you guys as well, but maybe one for social media to put it out there, and we can put it in the community chat as well now that we have it, just about the predicament that we find ourselves in, because obviously we have progressed in the Cup. We won at Kilmarnock and we've won at Ross County. Points over performance, that argument, we've been here before with Robbie. Is it too much to ask, or are we at we start a building stage where points are important, more important than performance? Let's weigh it up. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the nitty gritty of whether or not it's an unreasonable thing to be asking for our performances to go along with some points. So we'll talk about all that and a whole load of nonsense in between. Sound good?
Sure does.
Perfect.
Sound. Right. Well, we might as well start with the semi-final. We'll talk about the Kelly game in detail in a wee minute, but obviously Tuesday night, Kilmarnock 1, Hearts 2. We progress into the semi-final of the League Cup. Ando, thoughts?
Delighted to be there. I think we always joke and say it's the Diddy Cup, but it doesn't matter. Beggars can't be choosers at this stage. I think to get through is obviously a good thing. Kilmarnock, traditionally a very, very hard place to go. Indeed, I've never been to Kilmarnock and actually seen us get anything better than a draw. So to go there on a bit of a crappy night and grind out the result, ideal. 92nd minute winner as well. It just feels like a wee bit of a dick ping in the face for a horrible team and a horrible manager. So I'm delighted. Thumbs up from me.
Tam, all the old adages come out when it's Rangers at Hampden, and when we're in that end at Hampden. We've never beat Rangers at Hampden in our history. I think we've only got a handful of goals against them at Hampden. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait. What a day that'll be.
Geez, your thoughts?
To be honest, we're going to have to beat them if we want to win the cup. We've not won the cup in any of our lifetimes, our parents' lifetimes. So
officially 60 years into it.
Is that what it is? Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say my old man.
1963. My dad was there enough.
So
I remember you weren't here. We discussed it. We discussed how me and Ando were actual proper Hearts fans, Hearts fans, and that. And we spoke about how you like Scotland, and that's why you've never been to any big games. You've got no knowledge of the football club you supposedly support. But that's fine. We can move on. Talk about the semi-final this time.
That sounds about right. I'm surprised I was here for that. Like I'm sure I've heard that conversation before. Gonna have to beat them. Might as well do it. I'd rather do it in the semi than get put out by like Aberdeen or Hibs, but it is what it is.
I honestly, for a second, thought you were going to say I'd rather beat them in the semi than in the final, which I was going to be like, aye. That makes perfect. That makes perfect sense. That sums you right up. I'd rather win a semi than.
I'm not saying that though.
Ken, but that's where I thought you were going. That sums you up. Are we the Sunday game or the Saturday?
Sunday.
We're Sunday the 5th. Aye.
So we find ourselves in the 2012 situation where we'll know whether or not we will play Hibernian in the final, the League Cup, should we win against Rangers.
Yep. The good point of it is it's 3 o'clock kickoff, so none of this 12:30 on a Sunday, because that's a pain in the arse to get through to Hampden at that time. And fine if you're in that part of the country anyway, but if you're coming from the East Coast or further afield, it's a difficult stretch to get there. So that's decent at least.
Brings us on to one of the things we're going to talk about. I believe our initial allocation for the semi is 18,000.
Correct.
Yeah. Thoughts? We would take 25,000 at 3 o'clock on a Sunday.
Not sure, but at the same time, it's. Well, I don't understand why it's not a 50-50 split. 50-50 split. What they say?
Well,
it was down
to 50-50. It is a 50-50 split. Rangers didn't have the extra.
Oh, they've not got it yet. Aye, we can eventually get them.
We have to sell what we have first, and then get the rest. And it opens a can of worms of. We shout from the rooftops to anybody that will listen that we are the country's third biggest side. It should be an absolute no question asked situation. We should take 25,000 to that game, shouldn't we?
100%, yeah. I think it depends on the opposition though. Rangers or Celtic are the two ones that people are going to go, am I really going to spend 30-35 quid to watch us go and get beat at Hampden? Right, that's the, I suppose, the big thing hovering over this. If it was against a lesser team or Hibs, well, they are a lesser team obviously, then yeah, I think you get that 25k no bollocks. The fact that it's Rangers is where the question mark is for me.
And that for me is why we have to have a mentality shift at the football club, because you can't pick and choose when to be a big club and when not to be a big club if you want. And again, I actually go back to things like every season ticket holder should buy a ticket. Mm-hmm. And then we should work our way through the 7,000 people that say they're on the waiting list to buy a season ticket and start going through them and be like, right, okay, you never bought a ticket for Rosenborg, you never bought a ticket for Palk, you've never bought a ticket for Partick Thistle, you didn't buy a ticket for Kelly, and now you're not buying a ticket for Rangers. You know, how actual serious are you about coming to these games? You know what I mean? And it's difficult, don't get me wrong, it is difficult. The pricing's a joke. The week or the few days earlier, actually, when we go to Ibrox, the ticket prices are an absolute disgrace. And Hearts are absolutely every bit as guilty as every other side in Scotland for fleecing fans and away fans for ticket prices. It's a discussion that needs to happen, and we need to get around the table and talk with all the clubs to say we need to be fairer. with how we distribute the money for tickets, but also how much it costs to go to games. You know, you want to take your family to the semi-final or wherever, it's going to cost you the best part of 100 something quid. That's before you even look at travel and all that stuff. So you're pricing fans out of the game. But back to the original thing, we've got to sell that 18,000 out straight away, and we've got to sell the 25,000 out if we have any chance of progressing into the final. And potentially, like you said, we're going to play one of our rivals in the final anyway. You know, we're going to play Aberdeen or Hibs. So, and again, I said that, you know, if I said it in our group chat or the community chat, but the number one way, if you want to stop Hibs or Aberdeen from winning the trophy, is to get to the final and beat them. It's the only way we can have that sort of fate in our own hands. So it'll be a much harder task with 15,000 Hearts fans there and 40,000 Rangers fans or whatever it is. So we'll go try and sell that out 100%. Let's talk about it now, just before we move on to the actual performance. Before the match, fans had the banner, you know, funded by the fans, ran by clowns, we deserve better. What was your thoughts? You obviously, you know my thoughts on it, so I don't need to dive into it. What was your thoughts on it, Tim?
To be honest, I'm all for it, pretty much. Agree with the sentiments, put it that way. I know there's been a few people online saying it's not right, but at the end of the day, we spoke about it in great depth last week. We put our money in, fans put the money in, and it's the decisions on a football side of things are not up to the level it should be. So yeah, no, I agree with it. If anything, I don't know. We've won 2 games in a week, so it's worked well good.
They won for Hibs.
Exactly. So
I
just keep it up.
On the Friday before the game. Ando, what's your thoughts?
I agree with Tam, which is again a rare occasion that happens. But but I can't say anything else over and above that, except to say I think the time just now is right for change. The club's being run by a mafia, and I don't think it's right.
Well, I've said before that there are people at the club that we're connected to that we know. I can understand why they maybe, Harry, good guy, for example, you know, and I can understand why they maybe feel that was, you know, shite, dig at them or whatever. But we know who the decision makers are at the club. You know, the banner wasn't it, you know, the security manager or the marketing guys or whatever. It was nothing to do with them. They didn't decide that Stephen Naismith, etc., should be the manager. And again, I'll mirror it right now with, we say we want to be one of the biggest teams in this country. Well, one of the biggest teams in this country has sacked their manager of the night, sitting above us in the league, sitting with 1 win out of 1 in Europe, having got to the European group stages, are in the League Cup semi-final, but actually standards, the style of play, never mind the results, etc., aren't what that club is all about, and they've acted. You know, again, I know it's difficult for folk at the club to see, and they maybe disagree that doesn't mean that you're a big club because you're ruthless or whatever, but I've said it a million times before, and I'm not going to go over it again now. As soon as you lower the standards, as soon as you start lowering that bar, that never stops going down. And that's why Celtic and Rangers are light years ahead of us, because they don't care whether you're a nice guy or they get on with your wife or, you know, you've got sentimental attachment to the club or whatever. As soon as you stop being responsible for achieving what they decide, what they think and set their standards at, you're out the door. That doesn't matter. And even right now, Rangers fans will be arguing, saying this is 3 weeks too late, 4 weeks too late. Do you know what I mean? Like we'd acted a month ago, we might now only be 4 points behind Celtic or whatever it may be. So, you know, and again, it's a good reflection point for where we find ourselves. You know, we're on the back of 2 pretty decent results. Performances maybe not so much, but it is what it is. So yeah, we've been over it. Like I said, there were always I think the fans made their point, and then back to team. You know, the away end on Tuesday was absolutely bouncing, and the away end on Saturday was absolutely bouncing. They just made a point, get on with it, which is exactly, for me, the right thing to do. So Any other headlines this week, Catcho, that have happened in the world?
2 contract extensions. Cammy Devlin, Aidan Durham.
Oh, I forgot. Way to upset me.
I don't know. I don't know why you don't like Mr. Devlin, put it that way.
It's all about standards, Tam, innit? It's all about standards.
I think he's one of the ones
and that's not true.
Yeah.
I like Cammy Devlin as a person. I love him. He's everything that epitomises what we want from a Hearts player, but he's missing just one key element, which is he's no consistent enough. I don't say he's not good enough. That's not true, because European games he was brilliant. The second half against Aberdeen, he comes into his own. He's great, and he does all the stuff that you want midfielders today. Doesn't he score goals? He doesn't create goals, etc. And I think it's everything that we're lacking. So I don't dislike him,
I get you.
but I mean, I just think that we need a wee bit more from him and more consistently. Denham, I've got no issues with whatsoever. I think it's a sensible approach from the club, given how much wages he'll be on, and the fact that he goes on and has half a good season like Aaron Hickey, and look at where you can go. Look at the players Aberdeen have sold for big money. Look at Hibs have sold for big money, etc. From youth players come through. So absolutely makes sense. So yeah, I'm not too displeased at the club doing sensible business. Have we had any updates on injuries and stuff like Halkett and Mackay or Cochrane or whatever, or are we just radio silence as always?
I think there was some chat during the week about how Halkett and Gordon have stepped up their training in the week just past, so they're ramping up a little bit. So they're targeting end of October, start of November return. But that's the only thing that I've seen.
Okay, Gordon with the armband at Hampden. That'll be it.
So we've spoken about it before, and now that I'm less angry than I was this podcast last week, I think Sportscene had said that Craig Gordon's missed 37 matches for Hearts. Xander Clark's been in goals for 36 of them. I would be quite interested to see the last 36 games that Craig Gordon played, wins, goals conceded, all that sort of stuff, versus the 36 games that Xander Clark's played, wins, goal conceded, because the club's going to have a headache. Craig Gordon coming back, club captain. We know how good a goalkeeper Craig Gordon is, but again, he kills Xander Clark almost instantly if you drop him for Craig Gordon. So it's going to be a bit of a headache, but one for us to discuss when it actually happens. Right, League Cup quarter-final, way to Kilmarnock, Tuesday night. Pre-match thoughts, Ando, you seen the team and stuff, if you can remember, or what was your overall thoughts before the ball was kicked?
If I'm honest, my overwhelming thoughts were, I think we probably have enough here if the attitude is right. Because we know that we've got a capable team. I mean, even Hearts on a shit day should be able to beat everything that Kilmarnock could probably put up against us. For me, the big question going into the game wasn't about the starting lineup. It was more about the attitude that I was going to see from the players. And I know that sounds a bit of a dick thing to say, but to be honest, I think with the first 10 or 15 minutes, I thought they're up for this. There was decent sort of, let's say, positive passing, which is what I wanted to see. They come out of the traps and go after them pretty much straight away, which I think we've been guilty of in previous games of having a really slow start. I thought the start against Kilmarnock was a little bit faster, which meant that, for me anyway, they had a little bit of urgency about them, which is all I was wanting.
Sam, what about yourself?
Was happy to see Grant starting the 10, to be honest. He's not really had a chance under previous management and the current setup, so that was pretty good. And to be fair, he played very well in the game. I thought he had a good game. Other than that, I think it was kind of expected. Nuenhoff, again, it was interesting to see how he went on, and I'm sure we'll speak about it, but I thought he was relatively decent. I think you've already mentioned it before, actually. Relatively decent in that role as well.
Aye, it is about over the two games. I thought Nuenhoff's actually done okay. I thought he did well against Aberdeen when he came on. I actually thought he was one of our brighter sparks, other than when he took a jobby at St Mirren. And then he's continued that against Kilmarnock and again on Saturday. So it's good to see, because like I said before, when I watched him sprint or jog or whatever over against Leeds to sign an autograph, it looked like he was running on treacle. I thought, oh, fuck me, man, here we go again. Like, what are we doing here? But I've been impressed from, now he seems to have got over his little injury and maybe settling in and finding a bit of fitness. He seems to be better. And we've said before loads on this podcast that there's something about George Grant that I like. We spoke highly of him when he first came, his ability to take the ball and face the opposition goal, pick a pass, and also score a goal. Very good goal on Tuesday. He's not scared to shoot as well. Had a couple of opportunities on Saturday, so a bit of continuity in that area of the park will be beneficial for everybody, I think. So that was pretty good.
I would say as well, out of both of those players, it was nice to see them both passing the ball forward, because how many times have we seen it from our players in midfield that's back the way? So it's good to see that aspect of it as well.
Especially from Newmanoff on the weekend there. That was all he done in the early stages of the game, which was great.
The same with Denham as well. I thought Denham was pretty positive as well. But in the first half against Ross County, where he's took the shot on himself when Grant and Shankland are in much, much better positions. But yeah, I didn't care. I'd rather be talking about that than overplaying and try to find passes, etc. Have a dig. We've spoken about this a million times before. 20-25 yards out, make the keeper make a save. You get a corner, you get a fumble, you can get a deflection. You never know. You don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So I was pretty positive to see that. Thought we dealt with Kilmarnock, the pitch, long balls, the weather pretty well. All things considered, there was a couple of loose moments first half, but thought we dealt with it pretty well, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. It was obviously the pitch with the weather combined. It was, people were slipping about for the first 10 minutes, but once we got a bit more of a hold of the game, the first half was pretty frantic, to be honest. It was end to end, but I kind of liked that about it. In a weird sick way, I kind of liked that it was not just possession for possession's sake to an aspect. So positive, a lot more positive than we have been recently, put it that way.
Yeah, another game. Ando, the goal comes from, like Tam just said, there a bit of frantic play to begin with. Guys slipping, it's 50-50 try to win the ball, but as soon as the sort of ball breaks and heads towards our half, I think Raul steps out, wins the ball. It's a pretty good goal, isn't it?
It's set up beautifully for him. The layoff. Was it Shankland that lays the ball off to him?
Aye.
It's there. It's just screaming to be hit. And you know what? He couldn't have hit it any better. The only thing that he could have been done just to take the piss out of them a wee bit is to put it in the top right corner. But then you risk the goal at that point, don't you? But I thought, he'd done exactly what he needed. The great layoff from Shankland, the great build-up play, and there you go, spot on.
And Tam, I've spoke about it at length, just how much I love when Raul steps out of that centre line, wins the ball and bursts forward. It was good to see him delivering again, wasn't it?
It's like he listened to the podcast. I don't know. You actually asked me to double check what you said about Kai Rolls last week in case it was too bad and needed cut. So I kept it all in. So it must have worked a treat anyway. Put that way.
But no, it was good. It was a good goal for Hearts and exactly what the game needed. I think you said it was really frantic, and it was good to see Hearts come out. I felt like first half especially, we played like we had a point to prove, which was good. We build up to, like we'll talk about at the very end about the predicament that we're in, is you play for Hearts, you always have a point to prove. Do you know what I mean? Like, we are outside the Celtic and Rangers, we are the biggest team in the league, so every team we come up to play against, it's going to be one of their biggest games of the season. We need to match that intensity, we need to match that aggression, etc. We need to take the crowd out of it, etc. So it was good to see a fast start from Hearts, although we didn't score, but we were kind of at it from the beginning rather than a bit like Saturday, where we were a bit slow. We were a bit more penetrative on Tuesday night, which was good to see. Second half, sloppy goal to concede. I'm being honest, the most Hearts goal to concede ever, 10 minutes.
We've seen that story. However many goals we've lost in the last 2 years is the exact same. Cross at the back post and pish defending.
More than 2 years, man. It's like I've been alive 42 years, and it's a recurring theme.
Who are we blaming for the goal?
Where do you want to start? Man that does the press on the cross, and then you've got Rose and Kings at the back post just static. Could Clark come out for it? There's a question over that as well. Yeah, serious.
Oil them.
Ando, that's where my question come. Remember my infamous moment last year versus Fiorentina at home, where the guy, I think he scored like an overhead kick or something inside the 6-yard box or something, and I shouted, "You're fucking useless, Gordon," and then immediately stood back up, shout, "Well, no useless, but you know what I mean," because he didn't come and get it. But again, it's one of the things. Actually, I'm looking at my goalkeeper. I'm looking at the goal St Mirren scored. I'm thinking, you learn your lesson. Just command the ball, shout at your players, take a couple of them out or whatever, but win that ball. It's a 6-yard. It's in the 6-yard.
That's his territory. He should be coming for that all day long. And this is a common thing, right? So like, Gordon had his critics when he was at Celtic for exactly that same thing. Like, Celtic fan mates of mine will say exactly the same thing. I've always thought that about him, and then obviously it's creeping in with Xander Clark as well now. It just seems to be a common thing. I don't know why. Is it like we've definitely probably not had the same goalkeeping coach for like all those years, but it's, I don't know. It's a big Achilles heel in our game, I think. Points.
Well, it's something that we spoke about before. When we're at our worst, is it's just lack of accountability. Other than Kent, I think, Rowles could do better. Kingsley got roasted for the St Mirren goal again. He's caught on his heels at the back post, the same area, the pitch that St Mirren scored from. It's just about that awareness of either they're not speaking to each other or they are scrambling to get back into position because they've overexposed themselves or they've been caught out, etc. It's just a bit lack of authority in the back line. It's a sloppy goal to concede, and we kind of wobbled. For the next 5 to 10, but then found our feet again. Made substitutions. It's a bit of a theme, Tam, on Tuesday and on Saturday. The substitutions, and you have to give absolute credit to the management team for it. The substitutions changed the game and had the impact that they wanted on the game.
Absolutely. Obviously, we dropped to, well, I think it was Kelly made the change at half time, and then we dropped to a back 3, back 5, whatever you want to call it, bringing on a fire. I'm not against the back 3, to be honest. 5, whatever we're calling it. But it does make us look a bit more defensively stable, I would say. So, yeah. And then obviously we kept
away from
at St Mirren.
And again, away from home, I'm not against that, if I'm being honest with you. But what I would say though is that we've made the same substitution 3 games in a row, with a fire coming on when we've been chasing the game. A fire comes on Tuesday when we're chasing the game. You have to argue now is, well, if we've seen positive impacts by going to 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, there'll be call for starting with 5 at the back and seeing if we can actually positively impact the game there rather than needing the substitutions and the change of shape to re-establish ourselves in a game. Is that the next argument that we should be having?
Well, obviously, I think we started the county with 5. Am I right in thinking? I know Civic County was stepping out as he came on county, but I think it definitely is the question. What worries me though is we've got Vargas playing with Shankland up top when it's that, and we're quite reliant on his pace. There's no other pace in the team. which concerns me going forward. But I quite liked him going through the centre as well, and then kind of a free roll off Shankland. I did enjoy that. So it's interesting, but as I say, I would worry about how quick we can break with just really Vargas with some pace.
Ando, are you bouncing?
I am. So I get to chat to you, lads. I was going to say I've just had the call to go. So I get to chat. If you want my prediction for the derby, I'm not going to tell you. I'll put it in the group chat. And as we've said, you can join the new group chat by looking at the pinned tweet on X. That sounds weird saying that, but anyway, good to chat, lads. I will catch you all very shortly.
See you, lad. So, Tam, one of the things that we talk about is the fact that we play our next games against Hibs. If I look at the areas where Hibs will be the most dangerous, it's in the wide areas. Boyle, Johan, etc., etc. Is the argument to go 5 at the back there and nullify that, or is the argument actually go ask questions of them in an attacking sense and make them defend rather than us worry about them?
I think it probably also depends on what personnel's available. Like is Oda back type thing. If he is back in, I'd be sticking with the two wide men of Vargas and Oda. I'd prefer to see us set up like man for man and go ask them questions, to be honest. And because they'll be playing a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, whatever it is, essentially. But I'd rather us go out there and ask the questions of them rather than play 5 at the back at home and see what and try to nullify them, essentially.
So again, we go with continuity breeds confidence, etc., etc. I would be very shocked if Oda comes back into the fold for an Edinburgh Derby, given that Alan Forrest scored the winner at the weekend. Played particularly well. Played well against Aberdeen at Tynecastle as well when he came on. So it'd be interesting to see what Hearts do. But yeah, Kelly, we obviously made the substitutions. We bring Boyce on, we bring Lowry on, etc., etc. And they two, we're going to call it, combine in the 92nd minute to score the winner.
Yeah, Boyce is fairly lucky there, we'll say, with what happens getting the ball ricocheting back off him. But that Lowry just does everything you want to see. Drag back, finish, presence to know that there's nobody coming in his other side. Aye.
One of the things I have done here is the Shankland's frustrations, right, after obviously the whole Twitter beef that he just went down the tunnel on Saturday or whatever after the win. But actually, if you want to talk about how good the Lowry finish was, you have to acknowledge how good a touch Shankland's was from a fire. Brilliant pass into Boyce, superb. And actual Shankland's play in that situation as well was class, because he hung around in a space where actual Kilmarnock had to pay attention to him, which helped Boyce get some space for his shot, fall, stumble, whatever you want to call it. And it gave Lowry some space, actual, because the Kilmarnock defence were one eye on Shankland. And again, and I'll talk about Saturday against Ross County, but Shankland's run takes defenders away from Forrest. It leaves a space there for Forrest to score the winner as well. So yeah, Shankland's not firing on all cylinders. It's the longest that he's went with foot scoring goals, but his impact in the game can't be missed.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, as long as, so what, we've seen 3 different scorers in the last 2 games, as long as we're still getting goals and other people are stepping up, it's not an issue, because he's still playing to a high level. And as you say, that touch to then create a chance where he could have just went for himself for a shot for the edge of the box, but he's laid in Boyce. Aye, it's perfect. It's what you want to see, even if he's not scoring, put it that way.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Shankland and his own frustrations and our frustrations as to where he is, because obviously he is, the role that he plays for the team is sacrificing himself, and I don't know if I would prefer him to be a bit more selfless and just try and score goals, because that's what he's there for. You know, I'd rather see Shankland missing opportunities in the middle than creating opportunities out wide, if that makes any sense. But we can talk about that. But let's talk about Lowry's finish. It was it was a brilliant finish. Great composure. I seen Mikey Stewart and that talk about it on Sports Scene again, as well as the conundrum that is Lowry. We've seen him start. Is he doing enough to get a start, do you think, or what's your thoughts?
I know he's obviously popped up with a last minute winner, but it's hard to even base it off that. What was he on the field? 4 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Probably with an eye on extra time, in a sense. So he's still not done enough to start for me. But at the same time, it's good to have that option there with somebody who has that sort of magic touch that can produce something out of nothing. I like that. But yeah, if he starts obviously producing on the regular, then the conversation changes in that case.
Aye, it's a difficult conversation, the Lowry one, because you want to reward the fact that he's impacted the last 2 games positively, but you also can't ignore the fact that we can't carry passengers right now. It's important that we put points on the board. Derby next, we know how frantic that's going to be. The opening 10-15 minutes are going to be whoever can settle, whoever can get on the ball, etc. I don't know if that's the game for Lowry just now. So it's a headache that the club have to manage. So that was all she wrote at Kilmarnock. A win's a win. I was feeding extra time. The longer the game goes on, no one wants extra time. It's a lottery, as they say.
Yeah.
Especially if it goes to penalty. So job done, professional. It was a good reaction from a very, very, very disappointing performance in Paisley. And it set us up nicely for Saturday. Your overall thoughts on the Ross County game? We obviously went up there on Saturday. We've won 1-0.
The frantic, fast pace that I was talking about for the first half of Killie was not there. It was a weird way we set up as well. I think it's kind of like we had 2 number 10s with Denham and Grant just a bit further forward and Newhoff sitting in behind. So that was interesting to see. But yeah, it's hard to say. We've won the game up there, which is tough. But it wasn't the performance, not that you'd expect to see, because I don't know what I would expect, but you'd want to see, put it that way.
Actually, very, very strange that I think we've only been beat there in like 10 years or something.
Oh, really?
I think we've got a pretty impressive record in Dingwall.
Only place in the country there.
But the only place away from home where we actually, other than Easter Road, where we seem to do quite well. I thought I missed the game live. I was at a funeral, but I watched the game last night and the rest of it this morning. And I agree. I agree with what the manager said. If I was being honest with you, it was a very tactical game. I thought tactically Hearts carried out exactly what they were looking to do. I agreed with Naismith that we kind of lacked that urgency in passing and that penetrative passing to get us up the park. But again, we taken the chance that one of the rare chances or sights at goal that we've created. So you kind of get down the road with the 3 points. And again, substitutions have changed the game. Forrest has come on and scored. Lowry's set him, got an assist. Had an opportunity himself to get on the score sheet as well. So you can't really complain. Which brings me to the point that we wanted to talk about before we dive into the Edinburgh Derby stuff is, what's your feelings on points over performance, etc., etc.? Where do you feel we're at right now as a club?
It's hard. I'm going back to what we were speaking about last week. I still don't think the current setup we have in place is correct, and I don't think that's going to take us forward. So essentially, these points are wins. I suppose there was only 3 points included, but it's papered over the cracks in a sense. For me, it just buys more time. But you know what? If we still get points, the conversation changes as well. But I would like to see better performances. That look, we hired Naismith on the basis of his performances as manager, because it certainly wasn't points, because we barely got any. What was it, 2 wins in his interim period? So
7. Yep.
yeah, exactly. So we hired on the basis of fast attacking football on the front foot, and it's still not translating to what we're seeing this season.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Listen, last week I said we'd win none of the away games that we had. We've won 2, which is great. And where we were at after Paisley, you take them. Huge, massive character from the team, management team included, etc., etc. So well done to them, fair play. And they'll get, for me, it's gave them a bit of grace period in terms of, the points over performances is fine. If they get the points over performance versus Hibs, then we go into the international break, a smile on our face, and opportunity again to work on the style, the performance, etc., etc. during the international break. Now, the reason that I'm sceptical or even brought it up is that we have to be very careful as Hearts fans, is that we all seen that the performances had stopped under Robbie, but we were picking up points. We a 97th minute equaliser at home needed to draw with Livingston, hanging on versus Hamilton. Let's be honest, in the Scottish Cup, we struggled there. 0-0 draw at Livingston, pretty rubbish. So the performances weren't great, and then as soon as the points dried up, that's when the wheels came off. So that's why I brought up. That's my scepticism here. Is we've been burnt and we've been down this road before as Hearts fans, where we say, "Oh, brilliant, we've got the points and that's fine." But what happens if the points dry up because we've not got the performances to kickstart us? So
it's very telling as well that with 3 points we're up to 4th, and it shows how shit the league is. That 1-1 takes you right back up there when we're apparently going through a very tough period. But yeah.
I know, and it's what we spoke about before. Yeah, if the ambition of the club is to capitalise on times where Rangers, let's be honest, Celtic are light years ahead of everybody, right? I don't see Celtic having a dip or a lull to where they are right now. They have a brilliant manager in Brendan Rodgers. They had a brilliant manager in Ange Postecoglou last year, who's tearing it up in the English Premier League now. They're not going anywhere. So this is the time to strike with Rangers. Either 2 points in front of us currently. We've won our 3rd game of the season on Saturday. Beat Ross County, Aberdeen, and St Johnstone in the league.
Yep.
When you look at we've been beat off Dundee, which is a shambles, at home by Motherwell, and then obviously the defeat in Paisley.
And had we won in Paisley, we would have been sitting 2nd.
Yes, and had we won against Motherwell, which we were more than capable of doing, and if we hadn't made such a catastrophic mistake at Dundee, we could be sitting very, very close to Celtic. And that's where I get, this is the most Hearts thing ever. And I said it in the community chat the other day, the old if Manty had Boz syndrome. If we had one here, if we had done that, we need to stop thinking like that and actually change the things that we can do. Go out and be a big team, go out and put in a big performance, go out and put points on the board. We now play Hibs on Saturday, then we come into playing Celtic and Rangers. Aberdeen have already played Celtic and Rangers. They lost, narrowly? 3-1 at Pittodrie with Celtic, and then have beaten Rangers 3-1 at Ibrox. They're only 2 points behind us. So they will now. They've played Hearts and Hibs. They've played Celtic and Rangers.
Yep.
Theoretically, come the first round of fixtures, we could find ourselves points behind Aberdeen. We're now 2 points in front of Hibs. We should have really been 6, 7, 8 points in front of Hibs. So very frustrating, but we can only deal with the here and now. And I think we've got to be positive. We asked the club to do better. We asked the club to go put on performances. We said we deserved better. Well, we're in the set. They won the game and got us to a semi-final, and they've won the game on Saturday and got us 3 points. So overall, a pretty positive week. got a bit of momentum building into the Edinburgh Derby. So, what's your thoughts? Next game, Tynecastle versus Hibernian.
I don't know why. I don't know what to think. Like, it's so weird, this derby. Usually I'm like buzzing or nervous, and I'm just kind of in between at the moment. I don't know what it is. They've obviously high flying with their new brilliant manager, who's, was it, you told me earlier, one league game. So
Yep.
We'll see. But as we discussed earlier, I would like to see us really go and actually take the game by the scruff of the neck and actually play our game, especially at home. Yeah. Hope it ends in a riot again after last season. That was good. Fun.
And I like these are the games that can change the narrative of coaches. When Robbie came back for the second time, I said it numerous times that if he wants to turn the crowd quickly, he has to win derbies. You win derbies, I've said it a million times before, whether it's right or wrong or whatever, we're obsessed with the derby, and rightly so. It's all that we have. We don't win trophies, we don't win leagues, so the only thing we have is to win the derby, and that's why it's the most important games of the season. And Robbie had a brilliant derby record when he came back, and that's the most important thing. Won 2 semi-finals versus them in the Scottish Cup. This will be Naismith's third. I don't know if I've backed any Hearts manager that's played 3 Edinburgh derbies and won none. So it's a big game on Saturday, and it's a one, like we've spoke about there, let's strike when the iron's hot. We can crumble them whilst also rebuilding our own season. You know, I think the narrative at Hibs right now is they're very, very positive, happy with the new guy that's came in, that's changed their season. They've beaten the worst team in the league, St Johnstone, at home, failed to beat Dundee, and chucked away a 2-goal lead against Kilmarnock, which they're very happy with. That's progress for Hibernian. So it gives us an opportunity to go and put a marker down and cement ourselves this season again as the biggest team in the capital. So looking forward to it.
I think it's a good game to have before the international break as well.
Or it's the worst game on planet Earth to have before the
yeah,
because
exactly.
if you lose, then you're stewing for 2 weeks, and I don't know if I've got enough bed sheets to sustain me for 2 weeks of Scotland.
No, it's good we could just make a change at that time. Do you know what I mean?
I know, but listening to you talk about how much you love John McGinn and Ryan Porteous during those 2 weeks, whilst also listening to our Hibs pals slaughtering us because they'll be above us in the league and they'll beat us, I don't know if I've got the willpower to sustain that.
All right, see what I said? Wasn't excited or nervous. That might have changed just with that one sentence.
But these are the games that matter. If you want to be taken seriously at Hearts, you have to win derbies. You can either be Ian Cathro or you can be anyone else. Do you know what I mean? And this is what happens. You win the derbies, and all the noise goes away. So, big game, big boy time. Thomas, what's your prediction for the Edinburgh Derby, Hearts versus Hibs?
2-1. I think it'll be
to Hearts.
To Hearts, yeah. Sorry, and we discussed it earlier, but I do think it'll be a back 5.
I'm thinking 0-0 or a 1-0 or something. So I'm going to stick in the middle and say 0-0. I'm going to go away. It'll be a frantic Edinburgh Derby. Their new manager will be the same kind as us. Is that the longer the game goes on at 0-0, you're at the point where you think, right, just didn't lose it.
Yeah, fair.
I think it'll be very much like the Robbie Nielsen, Jack Ross derby of the season just past. 0-0 or 1-1 or something. Happy with the draw. Like I said, just want to see a performance.
Yeah.
The whole reason, as you nailed it earlier when you said, the whole reason at Naismith why we took a punt on our under-18s manager without the qualifications is because of the performances, the high tempo, the aggression, the playing with pace, the playing with purpose, etc., etc. We've yet to see that this season. spells against Aberdeen, spells against Rosenborg, fine. But actually, wave after wave of attack, we need to see that. And Saturday's the perfect game for it. A 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff as well. You can't complain with that.
I don't love the fact this guy no longer care.
I've said the amount of times where I hope the club would have the balls to tell Sky, you're never broadcasting for Tynecastle again, because it's 3 o'clock kickoffs are the way forward. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And it's the only derby in the Scotland that actually cares about fans anymore. So
that's very true. That is very, very true. Right. Anything else I want to discuss from a Hearts perspective that's happened this week?
All good. I think I just hope your family's been all right with sleeping just with a duvet, no bed sheets on it. Just been send my condolences to them.
They're
cold nights coming in.
They're used to it by now. Like they're used to it by now, so they're all fine. But well done, Hearts. Well done, Stephen A. Smith and the management team. Well done, the players. We asked you to step up, get your finger out, put in some performances, or at least grind out some results, and that's what we've done. You can go on and make yourself heroes on Saturday, and hopefully that's where we're at. I'm in Poland, as I just said, next weekend, so I should be back on the Sunday, so we'll record on the Sunday, hopefully discussing another Heart of Midlothian Edinburgh Derby victory.
God moods permitting. Is that?
Yeah, true. We'll wait and see. All right, lad.
Nice one.
Right, mate, I'll see you next week, all right?
See you in a bit.
Gorgy Rules.